I'm Ruth, and I am a retired registered practical nurse.
My name is Janelle Baker, and I'm a registered nurse. I work in the emergency department in Fergus.
And I'm Lisa Nightingale, and I'm a nurse as well, and I work at the St. Joseph's Hospital in Hamilton. We went to Tanzania. We went with the Evangelical Missionary Church, and we went with 7 people, so 5 nurses, 1 pastor, and another girl who just came and helped us out with the medications and stuff.
Well, the main purpose was, I believe, was to set up clinics out of rural areas in Tanzania where they don't have clinics there, or they might not have access to medical treatment, or if they do have access to it, they could not afford it.
And we worked with so there's a clinic that's 24/7 that the Tanzanians work at and is funded by a church in Stouffville. And so we worked with that clinic and went out and did these mobile clinics with those Tanzanian doctors and nurses. We saw a little girl who was 8 years old, and she has clubbed feet, so her feet, she literally ran on the tops of her feet and they were in sideways. And here in Canada you would get treatment for that right away as a kid, and they don't have the resources, they don't have the money to pay for it, and so they just live with it. And she was literally running up a hill in these deformed feet. We were actually able to raise the funds for it and be able to, she's going to have the surgery in a hospital there, and hopefully we'll get pictures of what she looks like with nice straight feet, and I'm sure that'll definitely improve her quality of life. So.
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is how we got all of our medication into the country. Mr. Matari, who was the contact person in Tanzania, had been working with the government there to get permission to bring the medication in, because we had a lot of medication that we were taking with us. And he had gotten, first letter was a refusal, the second one was conditional. But Mr. Matari was not at the airport when we arrived, and so after some of the officials were looking at our papers, at the information that we had regarding the medication, and all of a sudden they just said, okay, you can go. And they loaded all of our 20 bags onto carts, went out the back door, and we were going to go through customs, and they said, oh no, you can just follow your luggage. So we all went out the back door, followed our luggage around the building, came out the front, and Mr. Matari was out front waiting for us. So God had just worked it so that Mr. Matari was late getting there, because if they would have seen the papers where it says that the medication was conditional, whether or not they would have let it in, we would have had a lot of problems getting the medication in and possibly not been able to take it in.
Seeing them, and they have next to nothing, and they still have smiles on their faces and they're still happy, and then to come home and have everything at your fingertips, it just makes me just want to live a simple life and not fill my life with stuff that doesn't mean anything, that you can't take with you.
A lot of those people can't afford to get medical treatment, and that's why they don't. We complain because we have to wait, but we can walk into a hospital with any kind of problem, hand them a card, and walk out again without paying anything. And then we complain if we have to wait a few hours. Many of those people were there waiting all day, and often sitting out in the sun, or sitting on the ground, or sitting on a cement floor. If they didn't get to see him the first day, they came back the second day and waited all over again. So we don't have anything to complain about in this country.
Are you planning to go back to Tanzania?
I'd love to.
Yeah, potentially, yeah, God willing.
See what God has in mind.